Hey there, and welcome to your GG replay for Monday, August 2nd, 2021. We made it to August, folks.
Wow.
GG replay is a Monday, Wednesday, Friday breakdown of the latest in gaming news, hosted by us, the Goodnight Groofs, a place for games and a place for goofs. Still workshopping the slogan. I am Paul, and I am joined, as always, by Matt. How are you doing today, my friend?
Well, I'm feeling good. I got the platinum in Ghost of Tsushima last night. I managed to get it
Oh,
before the end of the weekend. I loved the game. I loved it. Glad to be moving on to something new, though. Gotta say.
yeah. Do you have anything in your sights for what's next? I know you were saying you had a couple games you were going between.
Yeah, so I'm gonna revisit the Order 1886, see if it
Yeah.
actually is as good as I thought it was when I first played it, or if that was just like
Mhm.
the magic of playing the PS4 for the first time, because that was
Yeah.
one of my first games on there. And then Plague Tale Innocence. Definitely
Nice.
want to get to that. Been on my list forever.
It's free on Epic Game Store this week.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. One thing I want to
Awesome.
mention about specifically Ghost of Tsushima is that, like obviously the director's cut is coming soon. It's under 3 weeks away now, and that's adding Iki Island and PS5 features and all that kind of stuff. I usually don't play DLC because I've become so far removed from a game, usually by the point that the
Mhm.
DLC comes out. So I'm kind of happy with the timing on this. It worked out really well
Yeah.
because ideally I'll still have that muscle memory like in 3 weeks from now because I put like 55 hours into the game.
Yeah.
So I should still have that, 3 weeks from now. So the timing worked out really well. I'm glad I came back to Ghost when I did, and that
Love
it
that.
just so happened to be that we're getting DLC that came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Pretty awesome. I love that. Also, I saw an interesting Reddit thread the other day where people were talking about the Order 1886 and Rise, Son of Rome, and saying that those
Oh,
games were underrated. That a lot of people just kind of threw them off when Xbox One and PS4 came out. They were launch titles. People were like, "Yeah, it's fine, but we want more like gameplay or like a AAA kind of like full big game." And people were like, "Go back, play these games again because they're actually pretty cool, both of them." So
the
that was
order
interesting.
is the one thing I'm really curious to see if it holds up is the game was at the time when I first played it, it was the best looking game I'd ever played. I wonder if it still looks that good. I know throughout the PS4's lifespan, it still was one of the top looking, like best looking games. I don't know if it still is going to hold up or not, but we'll see. And
Might be hard playing coming off the heels of Ghost of Tsushima or something.
that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I really I remember liking the story on that game. I remember some of the gunplay was just really satisfying. So I don't know. We'll see, Paul. I'll report back.
I love it. We will keep tabs on that. Just a reminder, if you have any corrections or any necessary corrections you come across in today's episode, please send them to ggreplayshow@gmail.com or head down to the YouTube comments below if you're watching this on video so we can address them in the next episode, which is fantastic. I am also drinking from my Goodnight Groofs mug, my GG
Ooh,
Replay mug. Do you want to cheers to the
yeah.
side here before we get started?
Oh, like
Perfect.
this way,
Oh,
this way,
like this,
this
I
way.
think is
Yep,
it this way?
there we go. Yep, that way.
Ding, ding. For those of you who are listening on a podcast audio, I'm sorry, we virtually cheersed.
I like it.
Uh, yeah. First story of the day today. Halo Infinite's beta file. So just a reminder, there was a technical beta of Halo Infinite last week. It ended actually yesterday on Sunday, August 1st. And we had some files in there that were interesting. In the beta files, there may be hinting at a Battle Royale game mode. There was an audio file that was data mined by a user on Resetera in which Halo's iconic announcer says Battle Royale. Apologies for that attempt.
Not bad,
In
not bad.
Not bad. Kilimanjaro. My voice cracked, so that's bad. In 2018, 343 joked that the only BR they're interested in is the battle rifle. um, so, I mean, it's not a confirmation,
Right.
but I mean, certainly we've already been thinking about Battle Royale, especially when you look at the fact that the online is going to be free to play. The idea that there would also be a Battle Royale mode thrown in there, just like the rest of things, really feels, on par with the strategy, I feel like, that 343 and Microsoft, pardon me, are taking in trying to tackle this kind of free-to-play Fortnite killer
Yeah.
vibe that they're going for. What do you think, Matt? Does this excite you, Battle Royale in Halo?
Yeah, it does. And like you
Same.
said, this isn't confirmation. But also, we have to understand this line was written, it was
Yeah.
recorded, and it was added to the game files. So it means
Yeah.
that at least something happened with, there was at least some idea that this was gonna happen at some point. If it's definitely not happening, you know.
It's weird to me that they would get their announcer who's been working on the game for decades to record a line for something they didn't even already fully build. Like it's
Right.
weird to that would be the last thing you would do, I feel like, would be get him to record Battle Royale.
Right. And even if for some reason they like had a list of things like, maybe we'll add this to the game, maybe we won't, so just say these anyway.
We only have him for this 1 week. Let's just like record all the lines we can. Sure.
But the fact that the line was added to the game and not just sitting on the cutting room floor somewhere means something, I think. I don't see any reason to not include a Battle Royale mode. I can only see it helping the game.
Yep.
If you want to take players from Fortnite, Warzone, Apex Legends, and PUBG, you're probably going to need to have it. Like, let's be honest, those people are playing Battle Royales because they like that game mode.
Yep.
Why would you not add it to Halo Infinite? I don't. You know me, Paul, though. I'm a big proponent of Battle Royale just becoming pretty much a standard game mode in any shooter.
Me too. It's a great game mode. It's so popular. I mean, why just make Battle Royales? Make a great shooter, add a Battle Royale mode, you know, whatever becomes the most popular, put more development on that. If the Battle Royale becomes the most popular product, i.e. like Warzone or something, put more money into that. Sure, why the heck not?
Exactly. If you have the resources to make it happen, why would you not have that mode? It just makes sense to me. And like I said, if you want to take players away from some of the most popular games in the world right now, then you're gonna have to do it by directly competing with them with the similar mode. And I just don't see why you wouldn't do it. It could be so fun with Halo.
Yeah. Totally agree. And I'll say just another interesting thing. I was reading an article about the shooting range. I don't know if you saw that. That they also showed off in the technical beta thing where they were showing you could actually like go into a little mode and try out different guns against fake enemies to kind of understand how some of the guns work
that's
better.
cool.
But which is already a cool thing, I think, because you know as the years have gone by, some of the Halo weapons are a little bit, you know, they kind of expect you to understand how a Spartan laser works or a Needler works. And,
I do remember them talking
has.
about that at E3, that they were adding like this catch-up mechanic sort of for people who haven't been in the know on Halo.
Yeah. Because I really feel, as we've talked about before, I think Infinite is a big stepping stone, I think, for them. I think they think Infinite might be a relaunch for a lot of people. That's why we're getting a campaign that presumably kind of starts fresh, even though like it's kind of a reboot almost, like a soft reboot of the story. And I think that's on purpose. To, you know, they're obviously having story threads that cater to older fans, but I think they do really want to brush off. But the thing I was going to say too, based on that shooting range thing, they're actually talking about there being a mechanic in the game, presumably going forward, but or potentially where you can actually drop weapons instead of just having to pick up a different weapon in multiplayer on all multiplayer modes, which to me also screams Battle Royale. The idea that you would have a roster, the idea that you would need to drop weapons to me makes me think that you would be dropping them in favor of other weapons because you're building out a roster. Really makes me think Battle Royale. That one kind of was interesting to me.
Totally. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And quick note, because you did mention the campaign, a massive amount of campaign spoilers were also leaked in this whole thing. So if you're trying to stay in the dark on that, watch out for that. I haven't looked at any of these. I don't really care about Halo spoilers that much, but I just haven't looked at them anyway. But so just be aware of that. But yeah, Paul, I hope that this means that there's a Battle Royale mode. I didn't see anything else like about other modes that had audio lines that aren't in the game. Yeah. So this tells me that this is at least maybe if not a launch thing, maybe this is something where like they release the multiplayer, it's doing pretty well, but not as well as maybe they wanted, and then they're like, all right, press the button, release the Battle Royale mode.
This holiday, we're launching Halo Battle Royale. Get your packs and get ready and pre-order your Battle Pass. Also, I will say, just in terms of Halo spoilers, I don't think at this point I can understand Halo campaign spoilers. I feel like the campaign has gone down such a rabbit hole of understanding like Halo references that I feel like if I haven't been paying attention or like reading the source material in the books, I think I'm going to be a little lost on all of the nuance. But I think it's still the same basic thing, kill aliens, so I should be okay. If I want to get spoiled, I should hopefully understand what's going on. Moving on to the next story of the day, Eric Baptizat, game director of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the latest in the Assassin's Creed franchise, confirmed that he is leading the Dead Space remake. He's also going to be the game director. So this news actually interestingly comes from his LinkedIn profile, updating hot goss and journalism off of LinkedIn.
Oh yeah.
Interesting to note. So I mean, my first thought here is like AC Valhalla, not necessarily the most loved Assassin's Creed. I think it was, maybe the least loved of the three, the previous trilogy. I think a lot of people say,
Probably.
a little overstuffed, a little, kind of losing the thread. But interesting enough, worth mentioning that Baptizat was also the lead designer on Black Flag, which, that game, people love Black Flag. Unity and Origins. Origins, I arguably might be the most loved of the previous trilogy
Could be,
by
yeah.
a lot of people. Depends. I mean, obviously depends on what you're thinking, but I think for more like die-hard old AC fans, I think Origins might have gotten more of that kick. And Unity also, I think a lot of people, actually, that's when I've seen a lot of people talking about with AC, Unity being kind of like the last true Assassin's Creed game in the way that they used to play in the original game. So even though it was kind of buggy at the beginning, a lot of people said to go back because that is a good game. So clearly this guy knows Assassin's Creed. He's been there for a very long time, so I mean, you might see Valhalla and think, I'm not sure, but I mean, there's a pedigree here that I think is important to note.
Yeah. And he can only do with what Ubisoft wants him to do, right? So
Of course.
I don't think that some people are saying that this is like a cause for concern for the Dead Space remake. I don't really see it that way. If there are certain mechanics you don't like within Assassin's Creed, this doesn't mean that those are coming to Dead Space, right?
Such a different game. We're getting rid of guns. We're going to make it a stealth action RPG. Like
Right.
they're not gonna do that.
I did think it was also interesting that the creative director for the Dead Space remake, Roman Campos Oriola, was also a Ubisoft vet. He most recently was the creative director for For Honor with Ubisoft Montreal. So two Ubisoft guys who, For Honor is one of those games that has had an interesting life cycle.
Again, kind of has a cult following, I think, of like people, much later in the game who are still following it a lot.
Almost like a Rainbow Six Siege life cycle,
Yep,
where it
definitely.
started off kind of stumbling and then found its niche and found its audience. So there are positives here. There are maybe some negatives that people can worry about with this, but I would say let's wait and see. Let's not make any judgments right now.
Yeah.
These are two clearly professional people leading this project, so let's see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. There's great talent there. I can't imagine. There's not much you can really say beyond just let's wait and see what the trailers look like and what everything else is.
Yeah.
Speaking of trailers, we got a trailer for the next game coming up just a few weeks ago. Moss Book 2 for PSVR. Coming in some news here that it will be considerably larger than the original game. Now that's interesting. That was not something that we originally heard about at State of Play. We just kind of saw a trailer. But now the design director, Josh Stixma, gave us some details on the game in an interview with Road to VR. Yeah, so I mean, Matt, you still have not played Moss yet, right? You have it, but you didn't play it?
Correct. I have it,
Correct.
but I haven't played it.
It's coming. You got to wait till right before Moss 2. That'll be the perfect.
I think we talked about it, but it's one of those things where like I wanted to play it, but then you move, you put your PSVR away. It's a whole thing to get it set back up, and
it looks interesting. It seems like a strange game to me. I'm not crazy about VR games where you don't play in the eyes, like first person.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like that's a lot of the VR, but I see the mechanics and I understand how there is benefit to having it either way. But
I imagine the third person aspect works similarly to Astrobot Rescue Mission, which I did play and really liked.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be a little disorienting, but one of the cool things that I like about it was like with a platformer, specifically with Astrobot, you're like kind of looking around walls and you're actually moving your body to look around things and find different angles to help you out. I think the camera system works at least similarly in Moss, so I do like
it. Yeah. So yeah, if you like it, this game's going to pick up right where the original left off. It's been in development. We just got news for 2 years, which is, I mean, quite a bit of development time already. And the team is up to 32 people, originally 15 who worked on the first game. So we've over doubled the staff, which is pretty awesome.
It's a big upgrade.
Yeah, pretty big upgrade. So I mean, not clearly. I mean, they're going to go ahead and say, there's going to be new progression mechanics, new weapons, new variety. But at the end of the day, I mean, a big thing is saying that they're going to have double the staff. I mean, I think that really tells how much bigger and how much they're going to progress in this game. I mean, every sequel should supposedly be a step forward, but I think this is going to be quite a massive step. So that's really cool. It's cool to see more VR, and I mean, like you said, sort of. I mean, it's good to see new VR that isn't just first person games. It's cool to see them take advantage of VR to just play a regular game in an interesting way.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Is going off your point is, it's interesting to see what developers can do with VR that is unique and new and pushes the medium forward, and not just being like, I am this character and I am in their eyes. Like,
Yeah,
what else can you do with it, right?
yeah,
And
100%.
what maybe they add on to Moss 2 some features, some things that they didn't have in Moss 1, and maybe they progress the medium further. Who knows? I think that
Mhm.
would be really awesome. Like you said, or like we've talked about, VR is continuing to progress. It's really interesting to watch. It might not be there yet, but I mentioned on Game Groups, I think it was this past week, that like the killer app is coming. It's not here
Yeah,
yet. Half-Life
agreed.
Alyx, I think, had the right sauce for
Yeah,
it for that,
yep.
but it's also still prohibitively expensive at this point. So something along those lines will eventually happen. But I also mentioned
We're
it'll be
waiting.
a social space. Moss 2 is not that, but if it can at least progress the medium forward, give us some new features that we never even thought about before, and let's see where it goes.
I love it. I'm always excited about more VR and different things in VR, so exciting to see it. Moving on to some AR from the VR chat.
Yeah.
Niantic has reverted the interaction distances for Pokestops and gyms in Pokemon Go to pre-pandemic levels. I think this is an interesting story. Actually, I was looking at this one today, and I was hoping we were going to talk about it. I think this is a bad idea for a couple reasons. First off, I just think it's a mistake. I'm not trying to be a doomer here, but we're seeing so much Delta stuff. We're seeing so much about how we're seeing rising cases in the US, other places. I'm not trying to be a doomer about COVID. I feel like maybe we should be waiting till we're a little more like for sure, like totally cool beans here before we, lower this. I just think why risk having to make people go more? Yeah, I mean, not make, but you know what I mean. Why now? The other thing is why now in general. I think it's a weird move. I saw people talking about this on online too. Just the idea that they want people to be hungry for Pokeballs, and they're hoping they're going to pay for Pokeballs. Basically, if you're not a common player, I guess the idea is if you're a really active player, you're going to go out a lot and have to go to those places and grind the game out, and then you have to pay for other things. Or if you're a casual player, you're gonna have to pay for Pokeballs. But I feel like if there were just a better way, just even that extra little distance to Pokestops, actually encourages me to play a lot more. And when I play more, I actually put money into the game, probably at points. I will say the only thing I've purchased usually is Pokeballs, so maybe they win
Right.
on that. But I don't know. I feel like there's nicer ways to monetize. I really liked the distances. I still think they were pretty small. They weren't enormous. As someone who got back into Pokemon Go in the spring of this year, I think they were a pretty reasonable distance. You still had to get fairly close, but I think it was fine. Yeah, I don't, I'm kind of unhappy about the change myself.
It's weird to me that it has to be binary. Like, it's either the pre-pandemic levels or it's the levels of the last 12 months or whatever. Like,
Yeah,
why couldn't they slowly pull it back or something like that, you know?
yeah.
I do think it's interesting. So far, these changes have only been made in the US and New Zealand. So
Hmm.
maybe that also tells you that they're kind of testing it out and are willing to revert back if need be. Like you said, I think it's a little bit early to go full on back to the way it was. Maybe there's some sort of happy medium that could be
Yeah.
found. I don't know. I also understand they want to go back to making all their
Of
money.
course. But I mean, they've also seen like the biggest year, the most profitable year yet in 2020, and
True,
that's with those
true.
increased sizes. Is their idea that, oh, it's not the increased sizes didn't bring more people to the game. So,
It's a great point.
so it's like, oh, maybe their thought is that, oh, all these people are coming to the game anyway, so we may as well make more money off them. But I think it's the opposite. I think more people were coming to the game because it was a little bit easier to get into, and I think this pushes people away again a little bit. I think it's going to make me less likely to play because I have just one more hindrance.
Yeah, that's a great point. I wonder if part of it is Niantic is like like, listen, like, we want you to be able to just play Pokemon Go from your house, but that's not what the game is.
It's not designed around that. Our monetization isn't designed. I mean, nothing's designed around that. You're basically just playing a Pokemon game at that point if you're playing Pokemon Go from your house. You're
Yeah,
playing a
so
Pokemon Game Boy game or Switch game or whatever. So
it's got to be kind of weird for them. Like, I don't feel bad for them. They make an
no,
insane amount of money, so they're doing
yeah,
just fine. But if you are like one of the developers who's just like passionate about your game, I
yeah.
can understand it being weird where it's like you're developing for this game that's not even being played the way that it's intended to be played, which I get.
But I agree with you. There's like a happy medium thing where I think
Yeah.
that some of those pandemic measures to get people to not have to move their house as much or go as far or get like not as close to something, I think pushed that is the reason partly why they pushed people over the edge and they made so much money. Now, obviously, that's not fair to say necessarily. A lot of people were out for more walks because they had literally nothing else to do, and so they downloaded Pokemon again. And so
Yeah.
there's a lot of reasons why I'm sure Pokemon Go had the banner year they had last year. But I mean, still, let's be honest. I think getting more people able to play the game with less restrictions is cool, and it's certainly not going to like. It's still making money. I think it'll still
Yeah.
make money, but I don't know. I'm sure they have tons of strategy meetings. I'm sure they figured out the cost benefit analysis of both, and this is just what makes sense for them right now. So I think it's too early pandemic wise. If we're just going to go, if it's binary, I think it's a little too early. But I mean, I wish it was just a happy medium when we could figure something out. But what are you going to do?
Pokemon Go is essentially a gotcha game, is
That is a good
because
question.
aren't you
I
combining different like copies of the same Pokemon that you have to level them up or something like that?
No, well, not necessarily. So the more you catch, the more candy you get for the Pokemon to then be able to
Right.
level it up. But you
Right.
can trash it's the same version of a Pokemon, like give it back to Professor Oak or whatever, transfer it, and then you get candy back from it. So you do
Right.
get the more you get, basically, the more you can level up another one. You don't necessarily combine, but you do have to find, like any Pokemon game, IVs, and certain Pokemon are better or shiny or whatever.
Right.
So I mean, it's gotcha in the sense that like every Pokemon game, I guess, is kind of a gotcha game, but I don't think in the same sense that you're like randomly pulling. Like you don't go and find a Pokemon and you randomly have to guess what Pokemon you're gonna catch. Like you know what
Right.
Pokemon it
That's
is
true.
beforehand. So I
But
feel like not necessarily, but
the Pokemon that show up are somewhat random, right? Like you're not controlling
yeah,
what Pokemon show up.
they are, yeah, they're pretty random, and they do show up obviously based on well, not obviously, but they do show up based on like geographically where you are and
Right.
based on like ecological things. So anyway, I don't know. It's interesting. I think that's a great question. That's worth thinking about. I've never thought about that if it's a gotcha game, but
I haven't
I have to
played
think more
in
about the description for that.
like 4 years,
Hmm.
but I kind of want to, but I feel like I'm
You
just
should. It's
not.
pretty fun.
Yeah, maybe I'll look into it. We'll see.
I'm going out for more walks lately, trying to get my steps in, and I think I might actually pull back. So I actually was playing in the spring. I stopped for a bit because I got really lazy, and now I'm out again a lot. So I might get Pokemon back, but
Whatever happened to? Didn't they have like a an accessory, like a pedometer that you could
they
have
did.
with the
I
game?
forget
Whatever
what it
happened
was,
to
but it was
that?
like a little Pokeball thing.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty good. I think the thing is now that they can use some of the I think the tech in your phone or whatever, they can actually like you can have it always set up so it can track your steps as you
Okay.
walk. You don't have to have the app open anymore to like
Okay.
track eggs and things like that. So I think that kind of superseded the need for the ball. But also I think like hardcore Pokemon heads still have it. I remember a lot of people with like it on their like keychains and stuff,
Oh,
like
okay.
with
That's
like
cool.
little Pokemon figures, like the real hardcore
Yeah.
Pokemon Go people. It was a cool accessory, I mean, uh, Pokemon Go's cool. I mean, what can you say? I mean, in some ways, it's also super dorky, but I love it. I'm always happy to hear more about it.
I'm glad that it exists. That the summer
Me
that
too.
it came out was just so cool seeing people
Yeah,
walking around and
yeah,
they're looking at their phone because they're trying to catch a
yeah.
Pokemon. Like that was so cool.
I know. I bonded with so many random people just on the street. Everyone you saw, I saw like people who were like 60 years old. I saw people from all over, just like all being like, "Hey, you catching Pokemon? What are you doing?" And you could tell exactly what someone's doing because they're all there and they have their phones out, and
Yeah.
that was cool. That was really, really cool. And speaking of other cool events and cool things where you can bond with people and interact, but not in the real world like Pokemon Go. This is in a virtual world. We're talking about Fortnite, of course, our favorite, maybe metaverse, proto metaverse. We all remember the Travis Scott concert last year, which was a big deal. Last year, the year
It
before,
was
I can't
last
remember.
year, yeah.
Everything's blending together. The Travis Scott concert, super cool gameplay event where everything got all tipsy. You're basically in a CG cartoon music video, like moving around and playing in the game. Very, very cool. There have been subsequent concerts and things since then, but nothing has really interacted with players enough like that. Mostly it's been screens in the game that you watch. But now we have Ariana Grande will be performing a concert in Fortnite this Friday. through Sunday, depending on your time zone where you are. There's going to be different events that are going to happen. And they're saying this is going to be on the same scale as the Travis Scott performance, if not bigger. I, for one, am super hyped. I'll be honest. I mean, I've said it before. I play a lot of Fortnite casually. I don't like grind or get like super into it, but I do play it casually just to goof around while I'm watching TV. And I will say, I'm pretty excited. I like the events. I love the metaverse virtual space stuff. And I like these things where you can kind of take a live event and twist it around and make it, you can interact in the game. And especially now with like COVID things and things like that, even though some people are getting back to some normals and seeing some events, a lot of people still aren't. And I think it's really cool to have a live event with a huge headliner, which is so
Yeah,
cool. I mean, I like Ariana music too. I mean, it's like, it's just fun pop. It's really upbeat. Usually the music videos are insane and weird, and I think that fits really well with Fortnite.
sure.
So I think it's a slam dunk.
Last year's concert was the first and last time that I've listened to Travis Scott music.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, same.
but it was such a cool event. Like just
Yeah,
being there with seeing the other players, everyone's just like, there was like something that people were able to throw around, and you were.
there was. They still have that in the other even the light concerts. There's little things you can throw around and things like that. Yeah.
It was just really cool. And then there was there's been since then there's been a ton of Fortnite events like
Last
the
week they just
end
had a
and
last week they just had a film festival in Fortnite,
oh
and
wow,
you could
okay.
actually go. There was like a certain character
Was
that
that
was
the
like you could unlock.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt thing?
I don't know if he was involved with that. Possibly they had one the year before too. I think a short film festival, so it could be. But it was cool actually. I thought you could go to the party lobby thing, like that party beach. Remember where you could watch like the big
Right, right,
TV,
right.
the big screen, and watch the films. But also, if you just went into a regular game, you could also have the little short films playing in the corner while you're playing the game, and you could turn that on or off, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
So you could just kind of little watch the short films, play around. It was pretty cool. I think they're nailing the live event stuff, and I'm excited to see more live events in video games. And I mean, no one is doing it better than Fortnite. I mean, by a mile. So
The only other game that I can think of that I've seen stuff like this in is Second Life. Like
yeah.
there were areas in Second Life that would play videos and like
Hmm.
have like real life photographs and stuff like that. And this is doing it on a totally different scale, but it's sort of like a spiritual successor to that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
And this is so cool. And like you said, I can't wait to see this eventually when this sort of thing is in VR. Maybe this
Yep.
sort of stuff comes to PlayStation Home, like where
Hmm.
like is what's being rumored. That would be awesome, Paul. This is definitely the future of interactive live events, and
Yep.
Fortnite is on the forefront of this, and they've
Like
done
a lot of things.
yeah, like a lot of things. They're doing an awesome job with it.
Yeah.
Whether
Epic's
you're
absolutely killing
interested
it.
in Ariana Grande or not, this is still cool.
It's so cool. It's so interesting. Even if you're not into Fortnite at all, which a lot of people aren't, especially if you're over the age of 12. But you know what? It's just a blast. And that's why I like it too. I'm not like like super into Fortnite, but it's just like a super tight, fun game to goof around in. There's cool events, there's cool things, there's weird skin tie-ins with different. I saw some people complaining like, "Oh, Ariana Grande, it's just a big ad. This game's just an advertising platform." It's like, where have you been? That is part of the point. There's like tie-ins with every.
Yeah,
It has none of its own identity. I mean, it has like little bit,
very
teeny bit
little.
of its own identity, which they almost like play with how little they have to care about it, which is kind of cool, which is fun. It makes it like feel like a comic almost. But most of its tie-ins and being able to be, and that kind of lends itself to it being this liminal space or this kind of like cool like metaverse where people can just go and hang out
That's really
and
what it
just like
is.
feel
Yeah,
like you're your own avatar. You're not like necessarily a Fortnite character. You're whatever character you want. You can be Batman or you can be whatever your favorite characters are and just like hang out in the space. Really, really cool. I'm psyched. I will be there on Friday at 6 p.m. If anyone will see me there, it'll be cool.
I'll join you, Paul.
Yeah, I'm excited. And one last time. No, one more story. One more story today. A little Ariana Grande for you on your Monday.
All right.
Hideo Kojima on Twitter so that he is. This isn't about Blue Box, guys. You can relax. We're not talking about Blue Box
Or is it?
today. Yeah, maybe. It wouldn't be Kojima, I tell you. Anyway, on Twitter, he said that he's almost done editing the launch trailer for Death Stranding Director's Cut. Cool. He has plenty of time. Game's still coming out on September 24th. We have over a month. awesome. I mean, it's going to be a little bit of time before the launch trailer. I mean, I don't think any of us don't trust Kojima to come out with a trailer and have it be cool and weird and have a fetus or something in it. So have at her.
Yeah, I just had to include this because one, Kojima's trailers are always awesome and like
Yep.
15 minutes long.
Yep.
And two, just because of the we're following the blue box thing. Obviously, this seemingly
It always
has
ends the show talking about Blue Box a little bit.
seemingly this has nothing to do with it. But you know what? You never know. Never know. So
Maybe he's still editing the launch trailer. He should have done it earlier, but he's been so busy working on Silent Hills.
Yeah.
And the new Metal Gear game.
I will say
with Bloober.
This is totally unsubstantiated, but I saw this. There is a website reporting a rumor that they heard from a source that Abandon is going to be the announcement of Silent Hill and Metal Gear Solid something. Erase that from your memory. It's totally unsubstantiated. I just had to mention it because I read it today, and everyone's like, "This is clickbait. This is fake." I'm like, "Yeah, you're right," but
there's one glimmer of hope in your eyes.
It's still interesting.
It is. You know what's cool? I like your thing. My favorite was my favorite theory of yours. I know we're not even talking. Of course, we just had a reason to talk about Blue Box. My favorite theory of yours is that this is an announcement that Sony is purchasing the IP from Konami. It makes no sense to me. What I think would make them, but I like it. I want that to happen. It makes no sense to me that Konami would ever sell those IP. But on the flip side,
license them
it would be interesting if they're buying Konami.
Yeah,
that would be an interesting idea.
Or at least their games division.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, the game because what I'm saying here, my thought here is it's like the same thing with the Spider-Man. Why isn't Disney buying the rights back to Spider-Man? Because there's no way Sony will sell it because they make so many billions of dollars just pumping out whatever they want, even if it's not as good. That it's worth whatever Disney can give them, and I think that's the same thing for this. It's like, I mean, why would Konami sell these IPs when they could make terrible Silent Hill or Metal Gear Solid games without Kojima and probably still make more money than Sony or anyone is willing to pay them?
Right. The reason why I think that is possible is because I think Konami's just not super interested in video games anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, they have in Japan, they like do so many other things. They own like physical fitness centers. They own the gambling, like the what's it called? The slots or pachinko machines or something like that.
Yeah.
So like they have all this other stuff, and they clearly over the last essentially since Kojima left, they just haven't cared.
Here's what we do. Here's what they do, and this is why I can tell you why they love games still. You get the physical fitness centers, you strap on a VR headset. Ooh. We have a new version of Silent Hill that has loot boxes in it, so you're gambling inside VR while working out, and Konami can combine the entire sphere of products into one.
And in this game, Metal Gear Survive 2.
Yes, absolutely. That's actually a mini game you can play inside of Silent Hills, made by Bluebird team.
Perfect.
Yeah. So that's it. We're gonna put that in the fridge if that comes true. I don't know. I'll get a tattoo of a pyramid head on my ass. And that is it for GG Replay today. But don't leave just yet, because I have a little secret to tell you. You know how you love us and you love our great shows. You love Game Groofs. I don't know if you heard that. It was on Sunday. Pretty good show. It's our all-encompassing gaming podcast. Well, you know what? You can actually get that a couple days early on Friday if you are a $3 Patreon tier subscriber. We actually have a Patreon, patreon.com/Goodnight Groofs. It gives you exclusive content to Goodnight Groofs stuff from our blog, from our podcasts, from our videos. Right now, mainly it's early time-gated content for the podcast, but that is going to change. We have more stuff coming out as we get more subscribers, and as we have an incentive to do so. There's a $1, $3, and $5 tier. And if you're feeling super generous and you like what you hear or you see on our beautiful visages, then please head on over to the Patreon, check it out, and see for yourself. Also, $5 tier, we thank you personally, so you can hear our mellifluent voices say your name, which, Rihanna would probably appreciate. I don't know if that's topical at this point in 2021. Also, a reminder that this podcast exists in an audio-only format. So if you're listening and on a podcast provider, make sure to thumbs up, 5-star it, leave us a review, whatever you can do. especially on Apple Podcasts. If you can leave us a 5-star review on there, that would be wonderful. Also, also nothing. I think that's it.
That's it.
Just basically any support you guys can give us, we appreciate. We love doing these shows. It's a lot of fun for us. It's just a hobby to sit. It's actually just really fun that we get to sit and talk about games more often. I
Yeah.
feel like we don't always get a chance to do that, and having this is like a fun excuse to just like chat and have fun. And make sure I'm awake during it. Whereas like if I wasn't on camera, I might, pretend I'm awake and then like fall asleep on the keyboard. Um, Thank you everyone for listening. We will be back on Wednesday with more fantastic GG replay Goodnight Groove content. Good night, everyone. Good night, Groofs.
I'll have to go get up close and personal with the PokeStop.
But get close.